Hello and welcome to Business Talk TV with me, Greg Wright. I'm delighted to be joined by Jodie Hill of Thrive Law, who's campaigning to ensure that every workplace in the country has a mental health first aider to ensure that everybody's mental health is protected in the workplace. Every year around 300,000 people lose their jobs due to mental health problems, and the estimated cost of mental ill health is estimated at £54 billion a year. Jodie, thank you for joining us. First of all, why do you believe that every workplace should have a mental health first aider?
Well, most workplaces have a physical first aider, so what we're looking to do is bring parity between physical and mental health first aid. And as you've alluded to, the problem is huge in terms of mental health, and it's actually much bigger than it is in respect to physical health, yet we have a physical first aider. So we need to shift our focus a little and change the legislation that's been in place for so many years.
It's clearly a massive problem, has very significant damaging impact on the economy. Why has nothing been done about this before, do you think?
Well, there's so many other political issues at this time. We've obviously got things like Brexit, and that's been an ongoing debate. It takes a lot of time to pass legislation through Parliament, so these things all impact on changes in any legislation, especially in something like this. So we are campaigning at the moment to make that change, and the MPs that we've spoken to have indicated that until Brexit is concluded, which remains to be seen whether that will happen sooner or rather than later, until that's done, we won't know when this change will happen, but I'm confident that it will happen.
What are the practical benefits of having a mental health first aider in the workplace?
Well, first of all, they're slightly different to a physical first aider in that they don't just deal with a crisis. So the focus of a mental health first aider is also prevention. So they're there to spot signs, to signpost, and also to be a point of contact for somebody who might be suffering. Because everyone at work, we all see people say, for example, if they're coming in later, someone was particularly upset at work, you notice that because you're with that person every day. So the idea is that the person is with them all of the time and therefore is more likely to notice it.
How long does it take to train somebody to become a mental health first aider?
2 days. So it's a 2-day course. It's accredited by Mental Health First Aid England, so the course is consistent across the whole of the UK, and only accredited trainers can provide that training. There are other sources of training within the MHFA, with Mental Health First Aid England, that are more awareness raising, but the actual course to be a first aider is the 2-day course.
Is there growing political support for your campaign?
There is, yeah. We've had Alistair Campbell retweeted our campaign. We've had support from Paula Sheriff, and we're in talks with a number of other MPs, which we should be able to announce shortly once we've got their backing. So we're excited, and we hope that with the cross-party support we'll be able to push this through.
When you talk to people about the benefits of a mental health first aider, what sort of practical examples do you give of how this can actually help a business to become more inclusive, more competitive, because fewer people will become ill?
Well, there's a number of things. So you've got the fact that if somebody had a panic attack or was particularly unwell at work, then the employer is skilled and able to deal with that situation there and then. That helps with job retention and things like presenteeism and absenteeism. So there's a number of benefits, both morally and economically.
Because presenteeism is a big issue. People actually being at work but not being well, so they're less productive. I mean, people show up even when they're unwell. How big an issue is this affecting the UK economy? It's
a huge issue, and the fact is it's very difficult to quantify exactly what that issue is, because presenteeism by its very nature, people often don't talk about that. But we know from the statistics prepared in the Thriving at Work report that it is a real issue, and there are estimated figures into the millions of pounds in terms of loss to the UK economy and to UK business.
What were the key findings from the Thriving at Work report, and who actually conducted the research that went behind it?
So the research was conducted by Paul Farmer and Stephen Dennison. They created the report in October last year with a view to assisting both businesses and the government in achieving the core standards. So as a result of that, they suggested some initial core standards that they felt businesses should achieve, but also some enhanced standards that businesses should be looking to then move towards. And what we're finding is that people aren't even at the core standards yet. So we want people within businesses to acknowledge that these core standards are recommended, but also to then move towards those enhanced standards.
And finally, when do you anticipate that every workplace will have a mental health first aider?
Oh, I'd like to say by, say, 2020. I think that's a realistic time frame. I know that with schools, they've changed the legislation to require mental health first aiders in schools by that time. But it remains to be seen as to when, you know, at the moment it's not even being passed through as legislation. However, we are seeing a lot of businesses voluntary, will engage on a voluntary basis in mental health first aid, and all of my clients now have first aiders. So there is a shift from a voluntary perspective, but I think we won't get every workplace a first aider until we have a mandatory requirement.
Jodie Hill, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.